The following is a reading from the article entitled Why the Everyday Brother Should Consider Buying Silver and Gold by Marcus A. Brown. If you currently are or ever have found yourself living from check to check, you may have found yourself sitting around on payday with less than $100 wondering where in the hell did all my money just go. Keeping a roof over your head, food on the table, and a reliable form of transportation can easily eat up half of your paycheck, not including utilities, bills, debts, and other expenses. And whether we like to admit it or not, many of us make it a point to at least spend something on our petty vices and entertainment. After all, life is more than working hard and paying bills. Unless you manage to hit a lick, staying debt-free and building wealth requires time and consistent effort to increase, save, and invest your income while minimizing your expenses. Depending on your living arrangements, the minimizing your expenses part can be easy. It's the doubling up, saving, and investing part that takes the most discipline to maintain. Discipline that I personally did not have. If you suck as much as I did when it comes to stacking your bread, you may want to consider buying precious metals such as silver and gold as an alternative form of saving. So in this blog, I will discuss why you should consider buying precious metals, the pros, the cons, and the basics you should know before stacking. The pros. Silver and gold are the oldest forms of real money in the world. Silver and gold, as well as other precious metals, are recognized across the globe and can be sold or exchanged for national currencies and resources in any and every country. As they say, an ounce is an ounce wherever you are. Stacking can be a fun hobby. Communities commonly referred to as silver stackers and gold bugs all consider the accumulation of physical silver and gold to be an alluring collector's hobby and a fun way to save. This factor alone played a big role in my personal decision to begin stacking physical gold and silver, as it has a psychological effect of giving a collector an emotional attachment to his or her savings that is typically not present when dealing with our reserve value in the forms of paper and digital instruments that can be easily mismanaged. Collecting precious metals will inevitably prompt you to want to learn the history and cultural significance behind various forms of metal that you will find yourself collecting over time. And as a result of this new hobby, you may also find yourself building new relationships with fellow stackers and bullion dealers across the globe. Protecting your wealth against inflation and economic collapse. Converting your national currency notes into silver and gold is an effective way to store your wealth as well as hedge it against inflation. As a national currency, such as the US dollar, depreciates in value, the cost of precious metals will begin to rise along with other goods and services. As a result of inflation, what we perceive as quote-unquote prices going up is actually the purchasing power of our dollars going down. When you purchase precious metals, you are buying a tangible, highly liquid asset that can be exchanged for roughly the same purchasing power it was originally bought with, despite the volatile fluctuations of the world's currencies over time. In the event that your native currency or other financial instruments measured in said currency undergoes hyperinflation or economic collapse, all of your reserve savings in currency-based financial instruments will be at risk of being reduced to nothing. One only has to look at the recent economic crises in Zimbabwe and Venezuela for recent examples of hyperinflation rendering national currencies close to worthless overnight. Conversely, precious metals such as silver and gold will never be reduced to nothing because they are finite resources that cannot simply be created out of thin air like the debt-based paper and digital currencies we are accustomed to using today. Financial privacy and hidden wealth. One of the final and most important pros to saving silver and gold is that of financial privacy and hidden wealth from special interest groups. In our modern age of credit and debit cards, tap and go, and one-click buy technologies, we have become addicted to the seamlessness of instant digital transactions. While these technological advancements have proven to be much more convenient than the olden days of writing checks and counting loose change, as we move closer into a cashless society, we do so at the cost of our personal privacy and freedom from financial institutions, corporate interests, and government surveillance. Sure, you may have the freedom to keep your checking account balance confidential when it comes to the gold diggers you've met, or that one relative that asks you for $20 every other week. You may even be able to hide a separate bank account from your girlfriend with bad spending habits. However, anyone who has ever experienced being sued, going through a divorce, child support obligations, or other legal appeals will quickly tell you how easy it is for legal professionals to pull up your entire financial footprint given the proper authorizations to do so. In other words, it is important that you understand that every bank account, retirement account, credit card account, And even certain currency transactions can be retrieved, reviewed, and infringed upon by the very institutions that you choose to do business with, as well as the government agencies that they must adhere to. I'm sure that upon realizing the aforementioned risks, some of you may ask, what if I just keep cash? After all, cash is king, right? And to that I'll say, sure. You can certainly go old school and hide $1 million in your mattress if you like. The only problem with that is, with the threat of inflation, the purchasing power that $1 million would grant you today will be far greater than the purchasing power of that same $1 million in the future. This is why storing your wealth in the forms of precious metals makes the most sense, to hedge against inflation, as well as to provide you with a form of hidden wealth that is invisible to the digital world of modern financial institutions. The cons. Physical precious metals do not gain interest. Because physical precious metals like silver and gold do not gain interest or offer any other significant return on investment, many people, especially most financial experts, do not consider buying silver and gold to be an investment. In fact, some will even go as far as to say that silver and gold aren't even considered assets. If that is the case, then I would encourage you to ask yourself, why would national treasuries and elite circles across the globe continue to extract and hold virtually all of the world's gold and silver? While the classification of gold and silver as investments is debatable, one thing that financial experts are correct on is that when you buy precious metals, they aren't necessarily quote-unquote working for you in the ways that conventional investments are supposed to in theory. Unless these precious metals are being used for industrial purposes, they are in essence just sitting around somewhere as physical possessions. If you are looking for an investment that offers interest, dividends, or a return on your investment, then physical precious metals may not be the financial instrument best suited for this purpose, because silver and gold best serves as a form of saving wealth as opposed to receiving passive income from it. Precious metals are subject to theft and/or damage. One of the biggest concerns for skeptics and new stackers is the threat of theft and/or damage. The reality is that yes, the possibility of burglars, pirates, and nosy girlfriends stealing your hidden treasures are indeed a real threat. The way I see it, if you keep your wealth in a bank, then it can be stolen by banksters, and if you keep it out of the bank, then it can be stolen by gangsters. Neither option is 100% safe. However, people can't steal what they can't see, and if stored correctly, thieves will never know what you never show or talk about. This is part of the reason that many precious metals collectors either don't openly talk about it or prefer to do so anonymously. Buying precious metals includes paying premiums. Precious metals are priced by their weight in troy ounces. The market price for a precious metal based on its weight alone is called the spot price. This price fluctuates throughout each day based on supply and demand and the current purchasing power of the currency that you're using to buy precious metals. Oftentimes, when a buyer purchases precious metals, they will pay a premium in addition to the spot price of the metal. A premium is the charge that a buyer pays in addition to the spot price, which makes up the total cost that you will pay for precious metals. So the current spot price plus the premium equals the total cost that you'll pay for the precious metal. The premium charge is how private and national mints, bullion dealers, and private sellers stand to make a profit from the producing and/or selling of precious metals. Some stackers don't mind paying higher premiums for numismatics or rare or collectible precious metals, while other stackers prefer to avoid paying higher premiums and pay as close to the spot price as possible. I buy a bit of both high and low premium precious metals, but every stacker is different in that regard and does what is right for their own approach to stacking. I'll conclude my written lecture here for now. I'd like to thank you for listening to the reading of this introductory blog covering why you may want to consider buying precious metals, along with the pros and cons of doing so. Feel free to let me know if you think precious metals are worth considering as an alternative form of saving and why or why not. If you've enjoyed this blog, then I welcome you to stay tuned for my next article where I'll provide an introduction to the different types of precious metal bullion as well as their similarities and differences. Until next time, peace and love.